Information fueled.
Opinion driven.
This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
We talk news.
5:05, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. How are you? Man, there is a lot going on. Welcome into your Monday. It is May 19th of 2025, and let's get right to it. Of course, the reaction to Joe Biden's cancer diagnosis, that does continue. Big news over the weekend. Now, I don't know about you, but I smell a little BS going on right now with this cancer diagnosis. And listen, I understand that this is going to be a very touchy subject. And I know that it's supposed to be, sort of like a ceasefire politically when something like this happens. So I'm going to try to handle this with all of the sensitivity that I can muster. But as has been very well documented by now, you don't have this kind of cancer diagnosis that suddenly just happens and it suddenly metastasizes into the bones. That is not how this works. And so Donald Trump Jr. and many others are out there saying, wait a minute. So how long exactly has this cancer been going on? How long has the Biden administration, the previous Biden administration, maybe Biden's family doctor, maybe the doctors in the White House, either these folks are lying or they're guilty of malpractice. And so we're going to get into all of this because, the announcement was made yesterday on Sunday, the prostate cancer of Joe Biden metastasized already into the bone. Now, by the way, coming up, a very busy morning, 6:06, all things politics with Matthew Hurt. He is, of course, our grassroots political analyst. 6:36, really looking forward to Dr. Manny Sethi out of Vanderbilt. He's going to help us break down all of the different aspects of Joe Biden's prostate cancer. At 7:06, Congressman Tim Burchett is going to join us, how the big, beautiful bill is coming along, and his challenge to Congress. That and a whole lot more straight ahead on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dr. Mark Siegel was on Fox News, and he was talking about this right after the diagnosis, and he was talking about how Joe Biden's cancer prognosis and his type of cancer is incredibly, incredibly aggressive.
Gleason 9, John, means that it's in a very aggressive form of cancer, and group 5 means that within that, it's the most aggressive type. That means it has the highest risk of spread, which obviously he has had. He's presenting with urinary symptoms, and I want the viewer to know that most of the time, prostate cancer would be asymptomatic. When it reaches the point where you already have urinary symptoms, that's also a sign that it's pretty far advanced.
Right. So how do you suddenly find out? I mean, it was only on, was it Friday? Was it Friday that we found out about the polyp? And then
yes.
And then, Joan, on Sunday, we find out that it is, so far advanced, so far along, that it's in his bones. Now, this headline from the Daily Mail: Biden's cancer diagnosis leaves America's top doctors stunned. They say it is inconceivable. This was not found before. And that's where Dr. Mark Siegel on Fox News, that's kind of where he was going as well. This Gleason score of 9 and a grade group of 5, they say this is a devastating stage of the rapidly spreading disease. Now, some of America's top doctors questioning how a former president with all of that ability to be diagnosed, all of that great medical care that presidents have, how could they be diagnosed with a late stage of prostate cancer, which can be detected early with routine blood work recommended for all men over the age of 50. How old is Joe Biden, Joan? 82, right?
82, yes.
He is 82. So help me do the math. 50, 60, 70, 80, that's 32 years. If he started having his recommended tests at the age of 50. Now, there is this test. It's called the PSA test, a prostate-specific antigen test, and it is something that men are supposed to get after the age of 45 or 50. Now, folks know that presidents, obviously, they get amazing health care. So how this wasn't found is really on everybody's mind.
I mean, he must have had the best possible care here. I'm a little taken aback that it's this far advanced and very, very concerned about it.
Yeah, that's the question I was going to ask you. This is a former president of the United States. He's supposed to be getting, as you say, the best medical care in the world. And yet, just a few months after he leaves office, this prostate cancer is advanced enough that it has metastasized to the bone. That's just not good.
No, we don't have enough information for me to be sure of the following statement, but I want everyone to know that the PSA, though, I think it's a really great test, and I do it on every male over the age of 45. Sometimes it can be low, and you still could have this. It's not 100%.
So Dr. Siegel was sure to say that we don't have all of the information. They say in February of 2024, of course, when Joe Biden was the presumptive Democratic nominee, his longtime physician, and everybody wants to hear from Dr. Kevin O'Connor, because old Dr. Kevin O'Connor there deemed Joe Biden fit to serve following a routine physical at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. So this cancer is so far advanced, it is crazy to think that this did not come up in the testing sooner. They say that these PSA tests are supposed to happen every 1 to 2 years after the man hits the age of 50. So again, Joe Biden, not to belabor the point, but I will, Joe Biden is 82. And so that means, I want you to think about this. In 2008, I think I did the math here, right? Joe, and I don't math real well, so help me on this. In 2008, Joe Biden was 65 years old when he was Obama's vice president. In other words, I just don't know how this was not found. He was also, obviously, as everyone knows, in the Senate, of course, so this just doesn't make any sense. And so now there are all these questions that are happening this Monday morning. Did Joe Biden's medical team completely miss this? Did they not give him a PSA test, or was there a cover-up? Now, watch us on YouTube, watch us on Facebook, watch us on X, watch us on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. The Daily Dan poll today. Do you believe that there was a cover-up of Joe Biden's cancer? Because that's what a lot of people are saying, including one Donald J. Trump Jr. The president's son is out there now saying, a lot of conservatives are saying, absolutely, there was a cover-up. And so I got to ask KGB, what are the numbers so far?
Right now, it's 94% yes, it was a cover-up.
See, there's no question in my mind that there is a cover-up. Joan, you want to chime in? Was there a cover-up, yes or no?
Well, yes, I believe so. And I kind of have a unique perspective on this because my father also died from hormone-sensitive, very aggressive prostate cancer that had metastasized to his bones.
Oh, wow. So
exactly you're the same thing.
I was going to say, that is literally the same thing.
Yes, it is.
Okay, well, then I got to ask this question. Mm-hmm. So how long was it between your father's diagnosis and like the original findings or whatever, and then it goes into his bones? Like, how long of a process was that?
Well, it's hard to say. My dad wasn't really very open about it. We knew that his leg had been hurting him for probably maybe a year or so. And when they say it metastasizes to the bones, it metastasized to a bone nearby the prostate cancer. So you're talking about the femur. Mm-hmm. That's where his went.
Which, by the way, that's the biggest bone in the body, is it not?
Correct, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it was painful. It was very painful for at least a year. And then he began the hormone therapy, but he stopped it. And at some point, that femur actually just broke.
Oh, my Lord. How old was he?
Spontaneously broke. He was 79. So it's a painful death.
Yeah.
And the notion that Joe Biden knows now that he has prostate cancer, if it's already metastasized to your bones, you feel it. It hurts.
Well, and here's the thing is that they say that he was having urinary problems, I guess. Those are the initial stages.
Correct. That's so true. Good point. Because that happens early on, when by the time you've got bone cancer from it,
Yeah.
it's well past that, and it's painful. So the man had to be in pain.
Yeah.
It didn't pop up, just this last Friday when they said he had a nodule. It didn't just pop up.
No, there is clearly 2 years ago. 2 years ago, Joe Biden gave us an indication that something was up. I've got that part of the story for you. Coming up, it is 5:15. Time to check the roads on WTN. 5:16, as far as your weather today, Joan, make sure we jibe on this.
Okay.
High of 81, scattered thunderstorms today.
Mm-hmm.
But then next couple of days going to be rather dicey.
Yes.
So we got possibility of severe weather today, a little bit today, but really, is it tomorrow and Wednesday? Okay, tomorrow.
Stefano's only saying tomorrow. I don't know about Wednesday, but
Okay.
He said tomorrow the threat level goes to a 3 for all of the Middle Tennessee area.
All right. Do we have a timeline on that?
I don't yet.
Okay. Very
I
good.
will get that for you.
All right. Thank you, Joan. It is 5:16. Now, Joan, you were probably either retired from Washington, D.C. or just wrapping up. But do you remember when Joe Biden said this?
And because it was a 4-lane highway that was accessible, my mother drove us, and rather than us be able to walk. And guess what? The first frost, you know what was happening? You had to put on their windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer.
What?
And why for the longest time, Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation.
So he said a couple of years ago that he had cancer.
Yes.
And I remember this, where we were all asking the question, what is he talking about?
Right.
Is he talking about like the aneurysms and all those things that happened, previous, or what is going on? And so that's what people are now trying to figure out. The White House at the time called it a gaffe. You remember that. And we all thought that it was just bizarre. How is that a gaffe? Like saying that you have cancer. That's not the White House tried to call it a gaffe, but now suddenly these things start making more sense. Story continues. On the positive side, despite the seriousness of the diagnosis, Biden's medical team has noted the cancer. Now, can I just ask a question? Biden's medical team has noted that the cancer is hormone sensitive, which could open up effective treatment options. Is this the same Biden's medical team that completely missed this diagnosis more than likely for years?
Also, something to note, they're talking about this hormone sensitive and they can treat him with hormones. They can treat his prostate with hormones. If it's already in his bones, that's a different story. We're not talking about something that can be treated by hormones.
Right. It's exactly right. So and again, he is 82.
Yes.
So, and I was reading, and you were talking about how excruciatingly painful this can be.
Yes.
President Trump had this statement: Melania and I are saddened to hear about Joe Biden's recent medical diagnosis. We extend our warmest and best wishes to Jill and the family, and we wish Joe a fast and successful recovery. That's protocol. Donald Trump Jr., though, says, what I want to know is, how did Dr. Jill Biden miss stage 5 metastatic cancer, or is this yet another cover-up? And people, of course, are attacking TJ, Donald Trump Jr., but it is a legit question. Brian Stelter, as you can imagine, was over on CNN after the announcement.
The timing is just extraordinary. We know from the statement from his personal spokesman that Biden learned of the diagnosis on Friday. Well, what was the biggest Biden story on Friday? It was the release of those audio excerpts from his conversations with Robert Hur back in 2023. This was the audio that Axios obtained, almost certainly from the Trump administration, showing memory lapses. And you heard a lot of people on Friday talking about that audio being hard to hear, even excruciating to hear. Biden showing his age on those audio tapes that had never been heard by the public until now. So,
right. And Brian Stelter is actually, believe it or not, what do they say? A blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. I think that's what it is. Whatever. Anyway, so Stelter is actually right there, because on Friday we did have that big announcement. The audio was released, and that audio is not good at all. And so I've got some of that audio coming up because I tried to listen to it over the weekend, and I listened to it again this morning, and it is bad. And I can tell you exactly why it is that the Democrats did not want this audio released. And I've got that for you, that part of the story, coming up on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 right before the news. But we do have Joan Jones with the news at 5:30. Hello, Joan. What's coming up?
Hello there. Well, we'll take a look at what it means when doctors say that prostate cancer is hormone sensitive. Also, the search resumes this morning for a missing 12-year-old boy. Those stories and more coming up here at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.